the scriptures, and indeed this service kind of speaks for itself. And I think one of the urge of all clergy people on Good Friday is to fix it, to somehow clean this up and make it a happy Good Friday, if you will. And I don't think that is the point. Oh God, I'm gonna cry. Okay. Woo. There are moments that words don't reach. And that's when God comes in. And that's when we have sacrament, and when we have scripture, and we have prayer. Because there are things that our words don't reach. And we want them to, don't we? We want things to make sense. We want there to be a happy ending. And there is. But right now, there isn't. And that's okay. So I'm going to tell you today, I was at the neurologist. And today is the 14th anniversary of my diagnosis. And I thought it was so funny that I was at the neurologist today. Just doing my kind of like every 6 month check-in, which he's like, Meg, get your act together. And I'm like, yeah, not going to happen. And he's like, maybe don't work so many jobs. Yeah, not going to happen. Well, maybe exercise more. Yeah, not going to happen. And he's like, can you at least get your blood test done on time? Maybe. Highly unlikely. But 14 years. And 14 years ago, I was sitting in a doctor's office. Actually, I had to bend over because I'd had a spinal tap. That was the final tool of diagnosis for MS then. And they'd actually nicked it. What happens if you nick the spinal cord is the fluid leaks out. And that's a bad thing. If your spinal fluid leaks out, you get these horrific headaches that are so horrible. If you sit up, you vomit. Now they just do what's called a blood patch. It's not that big a deal. In fact, probably they could have done it back then too, but I didn't have the most generous bedside manner in my doctor at that time. And so I was supposed to fly out because it was my last semester of seminary, and to celebrate, we were going to Europe. And I was supposed to fly out Easter afternoon after Easter services. And so I'm sitting there on Good Friday in this doctor's office, and just like in horrific pain. If you know me, I have very, very low blood pressure, blood pressure. But it was off the charts because of the pain that I was in. It was just horrible, awful pain. And he looks at me and he's like, you're not getting on a plane. And it was literally the first time I'd actually cried about everything that had happened, because I was like, I'm not going to Europe. And he's like, if these headaches don't go away by Monday or Tuesday, come back and we'll do a blood patch. Awesome. So not only did I get a diagnosis of MS, but I did not get on the plane to go. And so I was sitting in the neurologist's office today thinking, wow, 14 years. And I thought about where I was in that moment. And it would have been incredibly unhelpful if somebody had said, you know what? God has a plan. It's fine, Meg. You'll be okay. It would have been incredibly unhelpful. But that's our urge, right? As people in our society, our urge is in moments of discomfort or negativity or whatever to fix it. And that's what every clergy person wants to do on Good Friday. We want to fix it. I'm going to tell you there's nothing to fix. There is a good ending, I promise you. And as I was driving home, I received a phone call from Sandra Stover. But it comes up as David Stover on my phone. Okay. What's up, David? It's Sandra. Oh, hi, Sandra. I have bad news. David is dead. She's like, you're right. Good Friday really sucks. If you know me, you know I do not like Good Friday. Many of you know the story of 14 years ago. I don't like Good Friday. I'm very, very honest about it being my least favorite of any Christian holiday. Good Friday sucks. There is no way to make this story a good one. I can't do it. It's awful because right now, none of these folks know the end that you and I know. 14 years ago, I didn't know the end, and I still don't. And right now, as a church family, we don't know the end. It just sucks. It just sucks. And that's okay, because there are moments of grief and despair and pain that words cannot reach. They can't. But Scripture can. Prayer can. And that's why all of Holy Week doesn't really make sense. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about how weird all of our rituals and tradition and Scripture and stuff are of Holy Week? It's weird. I mean, you think about Palm Sunday, and then we go through Maundy Thursday, and I know y'all hate the foot washing, so I don't do it. But that's weird. And Good Friday was weird, and some churches, they bring out a cross, and we're supposed to do the adoration of the cross and stuff, and you're just like, this is all weird. Christians are weird people. We're weird people. There are things that words cannot reach. We cannot verbalize in that moment what we're feeling or make sense of it, and we just can't. And that is the power of all of this. The power of Scripture and the power of the ritual that you and I have is that sometimes words don't make sense. But then it does. Because you want to know what's really, really weird? Out of the mud and the quagmire and all the muck, out of all of our sadness and pain and rejection, comes this little weird flower of hope. And indeed, joy. Joy does not get birthed out of fantastic, great things all the time. Joy isn't like that. Joy cannot be birthed out of anything besides chaos. Easter cannot happen without Good Friday. But you want to know what? The people of this time didn't know that. And you want to know what? In our lives, there are many, many times we don't know that, and we don't feel it. And so I'm not going to fix Good Friday, because I don't think it needs fixing. And I'll be honest, I don't think a single word that any human could speak could fix Good Friday. And I swear to you, no word of mine.